on, people? What's happening? Happy Friday. I hope you're all doing well. Big up to everyone locked in. Be sure to hit the like button, guys. Be sure to subscribe. I know. I've lacked with the streams. Let me actually see. When was my last stream? My last stream was 4 days ago. Four days ago. I've been really inconsistent. But I mean, I say this all the time, but as of today, guys, I will be consistent. Hold me to it. I will be consistent as of today. You know, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't make promises. Maybe I should. Before we actually get into football talk, because let's be real, guys. When I stream every day, or anyone that streams every day, shout out to the people at UV, shout out Owen, shout out Flex, shout out KG on the Reckless channel. Anyone that streams every day, shout out Alice, shout out Saeed. There's not really much to talk about in the world of Man United. Like we are clutching at straws, trying to find things to talk about, engaging stuff to talk about. And when you are hosting a independent stream every single day by yourself, it's hard. It's hard. But United are moving very slow, and I think that's going to be the topic of discussion today, because I, for one, I'm starting to become slightly concerned with the way that Manchester United are moving in the transfer window. At first, I thought, okay, let's just be patient. You know, today somebody tweeted me saying, like, I'm fed up of this team. I said, my brother, patience. And they said, it's been 2 months. How long is this going to keep going? And you know what? I'm starting to kind of feel that sentiment. When I look around, I'm seeing Bournemouth getting a here we go. I'm seeing Spurs getting a here we go. I'm seeing Arsenal getting here we goes, multiple here we goes. I'm seeing Chelsea. I'm seeing everything. Are you a one-woman running channel? Yes, I am, Flossie. I am. It's just me here on the channel. But I got some big news coming, guys. Next week, there'll be a new show on the channel. So keep your eyes peeled for that. More information to come about that. But I'm watching everyone doing here we goes. Sunderland, Brighton, Brentford getting a here we go today for Jordan Henderson. Man United, I'm seeing people clutch. Man United fans, we are so desperate for news that we are actually clutching at straws of academy kids that United are signing. Like that's how desperate we're becoming. That everyone's saying, "Oh, of course, we got here we go. You guys are just choosing not to pay attention to it. I don't care about a 15-year-old that United are signing. I don't really care." How can we keep our eyes peeled? I will announce it next week. We need that Alice Minna show. Can't talk too much. Big up Fabio says, Minna, nice jersey. Where is it from? It is the, let me move the mic out of the way slightly. This is the German women's team for the Euros. This is their Euro shirt. Shout out to Adidas, because it actually just arrived in the post for me today. Shout out to Adidas, because they stay looking after me, stay sending me shirts all the time. But yeah, this is a Germany shirt. I've never really had a German shirt. Sorry, I've never had there's some national teams that I've never actually owned shirts from. Germany is one of them. I just recently got a French Zidane shirt. I've got a Nigeria shirt. I've got a Cape Verde shirt. I got one from my national hometown as well. But I don't really wear like international shirts, but I think I'm going to start collecting them, because this is really nice. Like Adidas really outdone themselves. This color I like this color. I really like this color. I'm not going to lie. Shout out to Adidas, because yeah, they always look after me. And shout out to Puma as well, because they hooked me up with these boots here. They sent me 3 pairs of boots, guys. You know how crazy that is? They sent me 3 pairs of boots. And one of them I'm using it for decoration. The other ones I'm going to wear once I recover fully from my injury. Thoughts on the Palace, Forest utter woke. You know what? I was actually going to start with this, guys. I'm not lying. I didn't want to talk about Man United straight away, because I think there's so much happening in the world of football that we kind of have to speak about what's happening at other clubs. Not that it directly impacts Manchester United, but I just think it's good to keep an eye out on what's happening in and around the world of football. I actually feel sorry for Crystal Palace. You know why? Because Crystal Palace had a donut of an owner in Textor. I don't like Textor as an owner. Not that he's owned a club that I support, but I just think that he is a bad example of what owners should be like, similar to like the Glazers. So just for some context, guys, if you are thinking, what the hell are we talking about? Crystal Palace have been demoted from Europa League to the Conference League because of multi-club ownership. Now, if you guys know, there's so many teams out there that currently fall under the multi-ownership kind of umbrella. Manchester United are one of them. You know, they share ownership with the likes of Nice, like the likes of Lausanne that are based in Switzerland. Chelsea fall under it. They fall under the Blue Co ownership with the likes of Strasbourg, etc. Man City fall under it, under the Man City group. Red Bull ownership, they fall under it with Leipzig and Salzburg. So there's so many teams out there, right, that fall into this multi-ownership category. However, so it's been reported that Crystal Palace have been demoted from Europa League to Conference League because the fact that Lyon are in Europa League and they are owned by the same people. Now, since this has all happened, Textor has reportedly sold his shares in Crystal Palace, but they missed the 1st of March deadline, which is the deadline UEFA set for basically clubs to identify that there's not a conflict of interest. Now, I feel sorry for Crystal Palace because, number one, they probably thought they weren't going to win their FA Cup, so they probably didn't think they'd be in Europe. But number two, I don't think Textor has done much for them compared to what he's done for Lyon. Like, if you guys know, with Lyon, I was actually going to make a video about this. Lyon's relegation has been overturned, which is a good thing for football, in my opinion, because it's a good thing for football, but I think there needs to be tougher restrictions by UEFA or even by like local country authorities, so the French authorities. There needs to be tougher restrictions on owners when it comes to what they can and can't do, because what Textor has done at Lyon is nothing short of disgraceful. And it's, for me, it's unfair on Lyon, and it's also, on the flip side, unfair on Crystal Palace. Now, just for some context, what John Textor has done at Lyon is, listen to this, guys, this is absurd. Lyon were relegated for financial reasons. They had hundreds of millions in losses, and because of those losses, they've been struggling financially. But an audit of their accounts completed by the French authorities identified that there was over 50 people on their salary books. Listen to this, guys. They employ about 25 players. Why do you have 50 people, number one? Number two, players were being signed with Lyon's money to play for Botafogo, which is a club owned by John Textor. So John Textor was taking money from Lyon, and so now Lyon are 120 million, say it's a hypothetical number, but say they're 120 million out of pocket, and they've taken that money and gone and spent it for another club to strengthen another club. And you know what's now happened? 3 of those players that they brought with that money is now being sold to Nottingham Forest. So this is why I think, and I tweeted this earlier, do you guys feel like multi-club ownership is going to ruin football in its entirety? Because once one kind of entity starts doing it, other entities are going to start to pick up. And now, you know, Man United are, like I said, falling under this multi-club ownership, and Manchester City are part of it. It's only a matter of time maybe and Chelsea are part of it. That's 3 out of the top 6 that are part of multi-club structures. Other people might start to do it. And teams like Crystal Palace are drawing the short straw of the stick because of negligence from their owners. I feel really sorry for Crystal Palace because, number one, the fact that they won their first trophy in God knows how long, but to be able to go on and play in Europe off the back of that should be a moment that they get an opportunity to celebrate it, not have to deal with the legal consequences of something that was not their fault. And that's just my opinion. How on earth can Chelsea spend 1 billion in one window? This is a joke. If you want to know, this is a shameless plug, but if you want to know how Chelsea can spend money, I did a video about 2 weeks ago about this. Go and check it out. It's on my channel. Go and check it out. It's about an 8-minute video, and it kind of goes into details. Big up Red Devil United says, I'd like to see rules brought in, getting rid of owners, a dumbing department on the club. You know what? Oh, dumping debt on the club. I agree. I feel like with what has happened with Manchester United when the Glazers took over, I feel like, number one, and I know this is bad to say, but I don't think owners should be allowed to take out any sort of revenue from a club to fund another club directly. I don't think they should be allowed to do that, because now when, say, club A and Club B are in two different continents, similar to basically Lyon and Botafogo. Lyon are struggling financially because of the consequences of strengthening another team in a completely different league. It's very sad that they're able to do that. And then who's going to have to deal with the consequences? The players, the fans. They're going to get relegated. Now, Lyon were lucky to have their relegation overturned by the federal investigation team. But this is just one example of what malicious owners can do. And this here is another example. I feel like authorities should have an eye on Texter, because clearly everywhere he goes, there seems to be some problems. But I am worried about this idea of multi-club ownership, because I think more clubs are going to just start to doing it, continue to do it. Look at Chelsea, for example. Chelsea have just sold an academy kid. Let me. I saw it this morning. If you're a Chelsea fan, let me know if you know what I'm talking about. But Chelsea just sold an academy kid to Strasbourg. Do you know how funny that is, guys? You're selling to your obviously, and again, I'm not criticizing Chelsea, but I'm saying that multi-club ownerships are finding loopholes. Oh, Chelsea have a what's it called? Chelsea have been fined by UEFA, right? And they have to have a certain amount of sales, right? Before Champions League starts, or before the season starts. So what are they doing? Obviously, they're selling Noni Madueke, which is a completely different conversation. But they're like, you know what? We're going to sell one of our young academy players for 20 million to another club that's owned by our umbrella, that falls under our umbrella, and is perfectly legal. Chelsea are not doing anything wrong, and this is why I always keep saying, whenever I'm like describing things to people about what Chelsea are able to do, I always say Chelsea are not doing anything wrong. What they're doing is legal and totally legit. Is it ethically right in football? I mean, there's a lot of things that are questionably unethical, but it's down to the responsibility, I think, of the lawmakers to stamp this out. Football is a global sport, and broadcasting does bring a lot of money, but it's getting over commercialized. FIFA Club World Cup is an example of it. I think long gone are the days that football is a football sport. Like, I know that sounds silly, but I think long gone are the days where football is just solely about coming on the pitch, a player coming on the pitch or a team coming on the pitch, doing skills. Like, I'm so glad, the more I think about it, when I speak to like my younger cousins and whatnot, who are like late teens, early 20s, and I'm always like, you know what, guys, and they talk about football now, and they grew up watching, you know, the Messis and the Ronaldos and the Neymars, and I'm like, guys, you lot don't even know how good football was in the 2000s. Like, I am so glad I was able to watch football in the 2000s, before the idea of social media and all of this stuff, where I would watch a game, then I'd watch Match of the Day so I can watch all the highlights. Back then, if you're from the UK, Champions League was on ITV1, so it was free. You didn't have to pay for Sky or anything. You'd go on to Teletext to see, any updates on transfer news. And the only time something was finalized was when you would see the breaking news on Sky Sports. This player has been signed by this club. Not only that, but I think it was the simplicity of football in the fact that every team had fun players to watch. Now everything's become really system-based and very technical. It's not, I can't even say it's it's not very technical. It's very, what's the word? Football's not played on a piece of paper, but sometimes I feel like it's being taught to be played on a piece of paper. Whereas when I grew up, I was watching the likes of, Ronaldinho, Rivaldo, Ronaldo, that kind of frontline for Brazil at a World Cup. I'm watching the likes of Henry and Zidane and Kaká and all of them kind of guys. I think football is definitely changing. The entire football structure is rotten. In the past few years, English clubs could spend more than all the other 4 big leagues together. But I don't think it's just the fact that English clubs can spend more than the 4 big leagues together. I also think a big part comes into the commercialization. Bloody hell, guys, that's a tongue twister. Commercialization of football, in terms of the fact that the TV broadcasting deals that Premier League make compared to the other 4 leagues, guys, if you knew the gap in TV revenue you will understand why. Teams who got relegated, for example, last season, Luton got not Luton, sorry, Ipswich got relegated, or even the year that Luton got relegated. Those teams getting relegated, they made more in TV broadcasting rights and from broadcasting rights than people who won the Bundesliga or people who won the French league. I think the only other league that makes nowhere near the level of what the Premier League make, but La Liga make quite a bit with their TV thing. The Premier League make billions across multiple years. The Premier League combined made more than I think the Bundesliga, the French league, and the Italian league combined, just in TV broadcasting. That is why when you see people like Sunderland comfortably being able to drop 20 to 30 million, right, on players, teams in Italy, the best teams in Italy are hesitant. The best teams in Italy, the Napolis, the Inters, the Juves, they're hesitant to drop 30, 40 million on multiple players. There is a huge gap. Let's be honest, there's a huge gap in football when it comes to broadcasting deals. I just saw the French league and the Italian league have both just signed broadcasting deals with DAZN. Yeah, I'm a bit suspicious of DAZN, but still, if you lot want to give me a job, shout me. But they've both just signed broadcasting deals. The problem when it comes to like French teams, and the reason why I'm mentioning French teams because we're talking about, you know, Techstar and multi-club ownership. The reason why Lyon struggled financially is because outside of PSG, nobody really wants to pay to watch French football unless you really enjoy football. And so when it comes to broadcasting deals in the UK, for example, they just want one game a week. Or like, for example, TNT had the rights to there's a channel called Premier Sports in the UK. They have the rights to La Liga and they had the rights to Serie A last season. Serie A, they'd show 1 or 2 games. La Liga, they'd show pretty much most of the games on television because people want to watch it. The disparity in La Liga is worse because Madrid and Barca get a bigger share of TV revenue in comparison to the other clubs in their league. The Prem is more equitable. That is true. The fact that you can win the Bundesliga and you're actually better off being in the Premier League and getting relegated if you want to make more money, that says a lot. I think that generally says a lot. If Bournemouth got Qatari owners and they spend just like Chelsea did, they would be in trouble for sure. I don't think so. I don't think they would, because if you've got smart owners that can find loopholes, I promise you, what Chelsea are doing, guys, the Premier League have even tried to stop it. Yeah, just quickly on this point from Gurav, just quickly on this. The Premier League have tried to stop it. And what I mean by that is last year, Chelsea sold their women's team to a sister company that's owned by Blueco. What they did was totally legal. It was 100% legal. However, by the time the Premier League voted on it, they have to get 16 clubs to vote yes for it to be passed, and so that other clubs can't do it. What's going to happen at that stage? All the other clubs are going to realize at that point that Chelsea had one up on everyone, so we can't vote for this to be stopped because we need to catch up. And so what happened this year? Aston Villa, in an FFP blunder, sold their women's team. Why? Because they all voted against it. Chelsea, what they're doing is actually, low-key, I rate it, guys. I rate it because they are not cooking the books like Manchester City are. A lot of people think Chelsea are cooking the books. They're not. And here, Show says it. Chelsea sell incredibly. People just overlook that fact. They've just gotten in another 25 million for an average keeper. You know what? Petrovic, I think it is, that they've managed to sell to Bournemouth. Chelsea have made 30 million from 2 goalkeepers, 5 million from Kepa, and then 25 million from Petrovic. Chelsea sell very well. And you know why they sell very well? Because they're even able to pull off stuff like this. They're able to pull off stuff like this, which for me still absolutely blows my mind. I cannot believe this. Now, I can't talk too much because we paid how much for Mason Mount? But there is something... Arteta... I don't know. There's something wrong with Arteta because I'm not an Arsenal fan, but even I'm looking at Arteta thinking, what? You got 52 million to spend and you think, let me buy a backup right winger, allegedly. Now, they are being linked to Rodrigo as well as Eze and Victor Gyökeres. So if they're able to pull that off, fair enough. I rate Arsenal. Now, I'm no I'm in no position to tell people how to support their players and fans, but the way that Arsenal fans are doing, I've seen people doing petitions. They're vandalizing murals outside of the Emirates because they're anti-Noni Madueke. And I'm thinking, the guy ain't done nothing wrong. Yeah, he's a bang average player, but you should be more mad at your club for spending this much than you should be at the player. The player clearly just is planning to leave Chelsea, and I think he probably knows he don't have a future in the way that Chelsea are moving right now, with the likes of João Pedro coming in. They're linked to Rodrigo as well. But I think 52 million for Noni Madueke is mad. Like, honestly speaking, I still think that Mason Mount deal is 10 times worse than this. But also, guys, let me be honest. I'm going to be so honest with you guys. I'm in a point right now where I don't even look at a lot of transfer fees questionably, because I feel like transfer fees, the base rate, the going rate for transfer fees of recent, it's always 40 to 50 starting price. Like, it's 40 to 50 starting price. So I can't laugh at Arsenal because I'm seeing everybody going for 50 million at the minimum. At the minimum. Do I agree with it? No, I don't agree with it. But 52 million for a backup right winger that can dribble well. His output is a bit questionable. But if Arteta and Arsenal can develop him, then this will be a 52 million well spent. The only thing on the flip side is, well, what happens when he doesn't develop and he doesn't do well at Arsenal, and Arsenal find themselves again short of goals when they could have invested that in a better way. However, with saying that, I really like that hashtag that I saw. Yeah, that hashtag was saying no to Madueke. I was like, whoa. But I saw a thing, I couldn't believe it. It said that Arteta has signed 6 forwards since he's joined Arsenal, and 4 of them have been from Chelsea. What has Chelsea got on Arteta that he keeps buying from them? We got Eze, Elise, and Walton on cheap, under 20 mils. But that's because, are you a Palace fan? If you're a Palace fan, I guess Palace are the kind of team that I think buy developing players. Like, if Palace go out and buy a player, they don't expect him to be ready-made immediately, especially not a young player. That's a crazy stat. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. Genuinely speaking, I was in shock. But Noni Madueke, and you know how quickly that story has developed? That story went from, oh, Arsenal are interested in him, oh, they've agreed personal terms, to, oh, they've bidded for him or they're about to bid for him, to, oh, he's leaving the US camp for the Club World Cup and he's heading to London to do his medical. The story developed so quickly in the space of 2 to 3 days. And in those 2 to 3 days, nothing has changed in the world of Manchester United when it comes to Brian Mbeumo. Nothing has changed. It's very sad. And even talking about 24 hours, guys, I'm sure you lot are following what's happening here with Morgan Gibbs-White and Tottenham, because I feel like everything is kind of interlinked, guys. I genuinely think everything is interlinked, because the way that I see it is, if Spurs sign Morgan Gibbs-White, Forest pick up the pace to sign Wissa, and then Brian Mbeumo doesn't leave Brentford, or he leaves for a bigger fee than what is anticipated. Now, if you have not been aware what's happening today, or what, let's take it back to yesterday, actually. It was announced that Spurs had triggered Morgan Gibbs-White's release clause. I didn't even know he had a release clause, guys. Because I remember when Manchester City were interested in him and they were quoting 70, 80 million. Nottingham Forest were. So that is an important thing to remember, because they triggered his release clause. It was announced that he would travel today to Spurs to do his medical, set to be the next signing. Bear in mind, yesterday Spurs announced Mohamed Kudus as their latest signing, which I think 55 million is a great signing. And I think the two of them combined would have been a top signing for Spurs. But then today it's been announced, or it's been reported, should I say, that Nottingham Forest are taking legal action against Spurs and accusing them of tapping up Morgan Gibbs-White. Now, if you guys remember, something similar happened with Elise and Chelsea. Now, the reason why it's been reported is that Nottingham Forest are adamant. They are adamant that basically nobody knew about this secret release clause except for Nottingham Forest and the player and his agent himself, which means the player or the agent disclosed this information. And it's meant to be private, of course. I don't know if they made him sign an NDA or anything, but it's meant to be private, strictly between the player and the manager. And the reason why the player and the club, and the reason why clubs probably do this is because in the instance that someone comes knocking around for slightly more, having a release clause public, it kind of lowers your bargaining chips as the selling club. Whereas if no one knows about the release clause, someone can come in and bid 50 and you could hold out for 70, but the second that the player makes it known that he's got a release clause, everyone's going to be all over it. So Spurs are being accused of tapping up Morgan Gibbs-White and his agent. Nottingham Forest are taking legal action. This is not the first time Nottingham Forest are reporting someone. they were the people that reported Crystal Palace. Yo, that owner gives us pure entertainment. That owner of Nottingham Forest, he gives us pure entertainment in terms of off the pitch drama. Because if he's not squaring up with Nuno and he's not doing a madness, behind closed doors, something mad's happening. And the reason why I think this is a silver lining for Man United, because I promise you guys, Nottingham Forest, they bidded 25 million for Wissa. The second that release clause gets triggered for Morgan Gibbs-White, they are stepping up the bid. And that will be a domino effect for Manchester United. Big up to Chaos, gifted five memberships. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's the same people scamming their way to a membership. By the way, guys, big up to Chaos. W's for Chaos in the chat. M.A. got one. Ridwan got one. Ian got one. Show got one. And Thando got one. And if you lot want to, people are always gifting memberships here on the channel. So make sure you guys have it on. You have to have it on in your settings where you can receive gifts. Otherwise, you'll just see everyone in the chat getting a gift, and you're never going to get a gift. So make sure you got that setting turned up. Big up to Chaos in the chat. Why make a player have a secret release clause if it's gonna why make a player have a release clause if it's gonna be a secret? Well, sometimes I would assume the reason why they do this is because if clubs know a player has a release clause, it doesn't always necessarily work in the favor of Nottingham Forest. So, for example, let's take Nottingham Forest and Morgan Gibbs-White. Say Morgan Gibbs-White had a great season, 20 assists, 10 goals, or something like that, 15 assists, 15 goals, yeah. A lot of clubs will be sniffing around, and Nottingham Forest might value him at a slightly higher price. They might think, oh, you know what, he's had such a good season, 70, 80 is a reasonable fee, so let's hold out for that. Whereas agents tend to like to put release clauses. Clubs don't like to put a release clause. Agents tend to do it, or if the club puts a release clause, it's to guarantee themselves some money. So Cunha, for example, when he signed a new deal, he guaranteed Wolves that no matter what happens, you guys are going to get at least 60 million for me. So that is why, that's the only logic I can think of behind, why they would do that. And just the last part, before we get to actually the real part of the stream, before the last part, big up to SJ as well, who's a Spurs fan. Big up Minna, big up. I hope you're doing well, my friend. After Gibbs, Spurs is official. We'll get Wharton or Rios or both. I'm shook of. I'm not gonna lie, guys. If Spurs get Gibbs White, if they can pull off Gibbs White, and the only thing that worries me about Spurs in terms of the quality in their overall squad, I just feel like the way that they struggled with injuries last season. I don't know if it's off the back of if it's off the back of Ange Postecoglou's training sessions, or if it's just the player thing. I don't think you guys are getting warned. I saw that it was GB News. Guys, don't ever take GB News as a source. Don't do that, guys. Don't ever do that. I know you lot are holding on to that possibility. But I also saw this, guys. I also saw this. You know what's so sad, guys? I've got my post notifications turned on for David Ornstein, yeah? And every time I'm checking, I get a post notification from him. It's nothing to do with United. But anyway, quickly on Spurs, actually, they also are about to agree a sponsorship deal with the PIF. If you guys don't know, the PIF is the Saudi Public Investment Fund. So it's owned by the state and they invest in stuff. And they're about to agree naming rights with two anonymous businesses at the moment. They're in talks with both of them. And it's basically going to come with naming rights. It's going to come with a whole heap of money. And it seems like that Daniel Levy guy, he's probably thinking, and also it comes with a change of management structure at Spurs. So maybe Daniel Levy doesn't want to be in the crossfire anymore. He doesn't want to be in the firing line when it comes to the fans, and they're about to appoint a whole new management board. And it sounds like a little bit like a silent takeover. Just a little bit. So them man they're about to have a lot of money. But anyways, guys, let's get into the real deal. And the real deal is talking about the things that just I hate talking about this stuff. I talk about it every day, but it's just so underwhelming. It's so underwhelming. Make sure you lot hit the like button. We just got just about 100 people here in the chat. So make sure you hit the like button. Let's try at least get 100 likes. If you want to join the membership club as well, you can. It's the pinned comment in the chat. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content, and of course, you get to support the growth of the channel, the ever-growing channel here. The community is growing every single day, even though I'm not being consistent. But you lot know, after today, I have promised I will be consistent. I'll be consistent. And if you want to support the channel in alternative ways, you can by sending in super chats with your comments, with your questions, with your thoughts, or just to show some love. And that goes a long way because it helps me improve the quality, the output, and pretty much everything that comes from this channel. I do everything here. I do my own streams, some thumbnails. I got a thumbnail maker for me, but most of my thumbnails, all my editing for shorts, for videos, etc., is done by me. So you guys can support the channel as well. My friend, please don't remind us. We're going to talk about Brian and Boomer in a bit, but please do not remind me, because I'm at a point where I'm starting to believe that this Brian and Boomer thing was a figment of our imagination. You know, like when you think, oh my God, did that actually happen? Do you guys ever have those moments? Like, it feels like That's So Raven, where you're having a vision, but it never happened. It's called deja vu. I am starting to feel like this is deja vu. Send me a message on Instagram, my friend, and I will get back to you, God willing. Instagram is in the bio of this video. But yeah, I'm starting to feel like that Brian and Boomer thing was... this deja vu never really happened. But I'm seeing these pictures circulating from Man United's training sessions. We got Chido Obi here, we've got Rasmus Højlund here, we've got Mason Mount here, we've got Kobbie Mainoo here, we've got Luke Shaw, we got I think that's Aiden Heaven, I'm not too sure. And then we've got Delit here, and we've got Casemiro, and everybody is saying, oh look, these players look so good, they look so lean. And it's been reported that the manager had specific regimes for players, academy and those coming through to the first team, and the first team players whilst they were off on break. Kobbie looks like he's lost a bit of weight, but I'm also seeing, I know people are clutching at straws at the idea of Rasmus and Mason and Luke Shaw being good again for Manchester United. Just let the reality be there, guys. Don't take what players have done at face value. Don't hold on to the idea of what they could be. Oh, Højlund looks lean, that means he's going to be good. This is the best shape I've seen Luke Shaw in. Don't kid yourself. By the way, we are entering a World Cup year, so keep that in mind when you wonder when players are starting to play out of their boots. Like when they're playing amazing, keep that in mind. This hot weather and this football club has everyone crashing out today. Honestly, between the hot weather and Manchester United, guys, I think anyone who's a United fan in the UK right now is stressed. It's stressed, you know. But one thing that I did see, and again, it's not me creating some copium or anything, it's just something to look forward to. This for me is just something to look forward to. I saw a clip, and I'm sure you've all seen a clip from the first training session for Cunha. I think it was on Monday or Tuesday, where he's driving through the middle with the ball and he just, boom, pushes Kobbie off. Delit can't get an inch near him. He can't get an inch near him. Now, of course, this is just training videos that we're privy to see. And there is still so much for United to do in the summer transfer window. Like, I saw a report today from Sully Talks, talking about another young player that Manchester United are interested in. And I know this prospect, here you go. Manchester United are current frontrunners in the race for England under-17 and Fulham midfielder Seth Ridgeon. United have strong interest. And Academy Scoop was one of the first people to break that. With many top Premier League teams in the race, the club scouts have been following him for some time now. This is about the third or fourth Academy-related news I've seen this week. This is probably the first or the fourth. That's the third or the fourth, sorry, Academy-related news that I've seen this week. I promise you guys, Man United will not improve imminently just from the arrival of Academy players. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this. Since Ineos have taken over, let me actually bring up a picture of Ineos. Since Ineos have taken over, I feel like there's been a huge rise in the Academy players that Manchester United have been signing. Now, again, not necessarily 100%, but I just feel, I don't know, or maybe are we more privy to knowing stuff? Because right now, I feel like Man United are becoming a feeder club. I feel like we're going down a path, because at the end of the summer transfer window, when we sit here and we rate the window and we talk about the number of incomings, I don't want you guys to include Academy players into the number of incomings. People have been doing that for some time now. Last summer, I remember when we got Sekou Kone, we got Chido Obi, and we brought in Samuel Lasau. People were talking about how we signed 8 people. I don't think you should be adding anyone that's been brought for the academy or for a developmental plan into the first team. The only, like, for example, Aiden Heaven was brought for first team football, so he should count as a first team signing. Chido was not immediately brought for a first team signing. He was brought to spend a year or maybe 6 months or whatever in the academy and then transition into the first team. Maybe this season, I think we might see him more in the first team than we will see him in the academy setup. But I'm just a bit intrigued in Man United's transfer plans. There is so much emphasis and excitement around, Man United signing young academy players, and that's great. It's good to see that Manchester United can compete for the best talents in England or in Europe. That's great. But Manchester United need to be signing starters. That's the things that I think we should be excited about, and that's the things that we should be looking forward to. I just feel like since Ineos have taken over, that's kind of been the pathway that United have been going down. Now, let's talk about Jadon Sancho. Sancho. It's been reported that Juventus, according to Fabrizio Romano, Juventus prefer Francisco Conceição over Jadon Sancho. Now, it's also been reported that Jadon Sancho has demanded a payout of the difference between what he's willing to accept at Juventus in comparison to what he's currently earning. Chelsea offered him 180, apparently. Yes, so I saw the report. I actually saw this weeks ago. Before they sent him back, it was said that they were willing to make him one of the highest earned players, but it wouldn't break their wage structure, because we know Reece James is, I think the only guy that's nearing 200k. And they didn't want to break their wage structure, but they were happy to pay him what they thought was a very high salary in comparison to other people in the club. Jadon Sancho reportedly wants a £4.3 million package from Manchester United to complete his move to Manchester United, which is essentially, he knows United got 5 million for him. So I think it's his way of saying, you know what, if you want me to go, slap a light little 5 million on the table and I will keep it moving. Now, Juventus are reportedly ready to also pay up to 20 million euros for him. And I think if Man United can get 20 million pounds, not euros, if Man United are able to get 25 million euros, which is about 20 million pounds for Jadon Sancho, I think they should just cut their losses and just go for it, because he's not allowed to report to training. Marcus Rashford isn't, Alejandro Garnacho isn't, Anthony isn't, Malacia isn't, which is sad for Malacia being bunched into the rest. Manchester United are doing everything they can to ensure that these players get their moves, less than Petrovic. But you know what, guys? I can only blame Man United for this. I can blame the players as well, by the way. Nobody is faultless in this. But look at the difference in the way that, for example, it's being reported right now that Nicholas Jackson is not in the plans of the manager at Chelsea. But he's not being exiled. He's not being pushed out. He's not being publicly undermined. He's not doing any of that either. So they will get a good fee for him. Like, I promise you guys, if AC Milan or something, actually, AC Milan just bought a striker in January. But if a club come around with a 45 million bid, I promise you, everyone's going to laugh at Man United and be like, how do Man United struggle to sell their players? But Chelsea are able to sell all of their players. And not just Chelsea, by the way. Liverpool have done it. Manchester City have done it. A lot of teams have done it. Man United will buy Jackson. Watch. You know what's crazy? I've seen so many people saying this. And I'm sometimes, guys, you know, one narrative we have here on the channel is don't say stuff too much. Because there's a history on the channel here of us talking things into existence. Yeah? So let's be a little cautious of what we say. Because I've seen this going around so much. I've seen it going around so much. And there is, if the last time, can I say, Arsenal did a favor and brought a player from Chelsea, United did the same thing that window, if you lot remember. When they brought Kai Havertz, that's the same window that we brought Mason Mount. Now, I'm not saying history is repeating itself, but you're looking at all the strikers that we've been linked to, and whilst we're on the topic of the strikers, we might as well talk about it. We talk about the strikers that Man United have been linked to. It's been reported that Man United's shortlist for their striker options has not changed. Victor Gyökeres, Victor Osimhen, Moises Kean. Are you taking the piss? Because we all know Gyökeres is going to Arsenal. We know Victor Osimhen is likely going to Galatasaray. That's nearly like 80%. So the only other name on this list is this guy here, Moises Kean. I feel like all roads are pointing to Man United signing someone that has Premier League experience. And a strong part of me fears it could be a unusual signing like Nicholas Jackson. It could be that 10 times worse in someone like Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, I know that we were linked to Ollie Watkins as well. Callum Wilson, we got no business being linked to these kind of players. We have no business being linked to these kind of players. The only thing that I think will hold up United any longer, by the way, let me actually just mention this because, well, this is how you know the mighty have fallen. We, Man United fans, we are celebrating players like Alanga leaving Forest and Alvaro Fernandez. Man United is set to make £13.6 million in sell-on fees from Alanga and Alvaro Fernandez. They had a 20% on profit for Alvaro Fernandez and a 15% on profit for Alanga. So just over 13 million they're about to make from the two of them. And you know what's so sad, guys? The fact that we're paying attention to this and we're actively watching these transfers to fund our transfers. This is sad. Like, I actually feel sorry for us. Like, I'm not even being funny, guys. I actually feel sorry for us because we are keeping it. Like, I saw United is so desperate for money. I saw people saying, why don't we trigger the buyback clause of, I think it's 20 million for Alvaro Fernandez and then sell him for 50 million back to Real Madrid because they want him. You know what that reminds me of? If you grew up in the UK, did you ever have someone in school that used to sell snacks? There was a thing in UK schools, guys. I don't know why, yeah. But like every school seemed to have a couple of people in each year group that would buy chocolates in bulk and drinks and cookies and crisps and all of this stuff. And they would sell it in the playground. This is how I feel like Man United are trying to operate right now. We're trying to be hustlers. We're trying to be hustlers. There ain't much to hustle. There is not much to hustle. I sold CDs. Yeah, there you go. That's the same thing. That's the same thing. Like there was one person in my school that used to sell Kit Kat Chunky, the chocolate, for like £1. Wait, no, it used to be 60p, and then later in the day it will be £1. But I know you brought that pack for £1 from the pound store because I saw you at the pound store. But those were the entrepreneurs in school. That was the entrepreneurs, and they used to have like someone in my year was telling me, yeah, they used to make like 70-80 pounds in school. And obviously back then when you're a kid, 70-80 pounds is a lot of money. 70-80 pounds is a lot of money even right now. That's how I feel like United are trying to be right now. We're trying to be hustlers, and we're trying to put together as much as possible so we can go to people and be like, here you go, here's your money, please can we have this player. I actually think it's so, maybe I say this all the time, maybe it's time that we accept, and when I say we, I'm talking to myself first. Maybe it's time that we accept that United aren't what we used to think we were. We are not. Yeah, they even cancelled the annual gift that they give in pre-season tours. If you guys are not aware of that, United have cancelled that. And you know what? This is perfect question. I wanted to speak about this. I was gonna wait for later into the stream, but whilst we're on the topic now, before we talk about other transfers, I want to talk to you guys about this. Because obviously the probably biggest conversation since Ineos have taken over after probably redundancies, the biggest conversation has been this new stadium. What good is a new stadium if you suck off on the pitch? Like, if you're crap on the pitch, really and truly, what good is having this stadium that I don't even know what this looks like? So it's been reported that Man United are hoping their new stadium will host the 2035 World Cup final. Aim to finish the project in 5 to 6 years. Now, this is the Women's World Cup final, because I was thinking the World Cup in 2034 is in Saudi, so that don't make sense. This is the Women's World Cup that the UK will be hosting then. I feel like, and we were talking about the commercialization of football earlier, I think this is a perfect example of it. Because, yes, Man United need a they need an improved stadium for sure. I like Old Trafford. I don't like how rundown it feels when I go to like other stadiums, but I like the location of Old Trafford. I like the way that it looks. I think it could be enhanced, the way that the Bernabeu is, and the Camp Nou. Like, they will never break down the Camp Nou. They will never break down the Bernabeu, right? Why are we happy with the idea of having a modern stadium because breaking down Old Trafford? But the way that Ineos are moving in this transfer window is making me look at this in hindsight and think, does things like this even matter? Things like a new stadium and how great it's going to be and how much revenue it's going to generate for Manchester United in 10 years' time. And a new coalition being put together that's led by Seb Coe. If you guys don't know, Seb Coe was the guy, I think, that led GB for the Olympics bid back in 2005 or something. The new stadium will bring us Spurs money, but what happens when we ain't competitive? Like, right now, I think we're holding on to the hope of United being competitive. We're holding on to the idea of tough times don't last. It's been a tough decade for United, and even in Man United's worst decade, yeah, some people would kill to have a decade like this, but this is Man United's worst decade in the last 3-4 decades, right? But with saying that, I just look back now on this stadium thing, and I saw this article come up this morning whilst I was on The Athletic, and I was just thinking, I don't even care about this stadium anymore. The goal is to have it finished by 2030, I think it is, 2031 at the latest. They've created a whole coalition of people, including, so the mayor of Manchester, etc. They still haven't found investors, but they have, I think they're finding like private equity firms to invest in this. But if we still suck on the pitch, I don't know what you expect. I genuinely don't know what you expect. Camp Nou is rebuilt now, opening next month. Yes, I've seen that they're going to be playing there in September. Let's talk about this kid here. Bloody hell, man. Man United is a circus. You know what? Now that I look back at that, what Old Trafford's going to look like, it makes so much sense that it looks like a circus tent, because we are indeed a circus. We are indeed a circus. Because in the space of 24 hours, I've seen reports of... So, by the way, guys, context. Context is important. We know the 5 players that have been exiled, if you want to say, exiled by Ruben Amorim and Manchester United. Marcus Rashford is one of them. Tell me why we need to know what time Marcus Rashford reports to Carrington. This is why I say journalists single him out all the time. I agree that it's time for him to have a fresh start. I've seen everyone talking about the whole Cunha number 10 thing. That's a different conversation. But out of everybody that has been exiled from this Amorim squad and from pre-season, He's the only one that has reported to Carrington this week. It's been told, they've been told, the 5 players have been told they don't have to report back. But he's reported back to work with conditioning and strength coaches. Why do we need to know, A, what time he reported? I don't care if he reported at 4:45 p.m. It's not. Why do we care about that? Number 2, it was reported that he entered from the back of Carrington and Ruben Amorim left from the front. I don't get it. Why do we need just when it is announced that he's leaving Manchester United, give us that information then. As of right now, I don't care if he turns up to Carrington on a bike, on a scooter, if he walks to Carrington. Carrington is in the middle of nowhere, by the way, so I don't think anyone can walk there. But I don't care about his mode of transport to Carrington. I don't care if he jumped the fence to get in there. And the same goes for Garnacho. The same goes for Anthony. I don't care how they get to Carrington and they're working with strength and conditioning coaches behind closed. I don't care. I don't care. Just tell me when they leave, because everyone's so desperate for Manchester United to get them out of the door. Now, it's been reported that Hansi Flick wants Marcus Rashford, and Barcelona want to try again for Marcus Rashford and are ready to go all in. He is now their number 1 target. Now, it's also been reported that Barcelona are advancing in their efforts to sign Marcus Rashford. The wages would need to be reduced by 40% with their desire to be a loan move for him. For Manchester United, on the other hand, their priority is to have a mandatory purchase clause, which is what has effed us up with our loans over the last 12 to 18 months. Now, with Barcelona wanting him as a priority, I think it's down to the fact that A, Nico Williams fell through, but B, Luis Diaz as well is reportedly linked to Saudi, and he's also linked to Bayern Munich. So I think that deal, they were interested in Luis Diaz back in like May, June times. I don't think that's going to happen. In terms of the quality of left wingers on the market, Ademola Lookman, Rafael Leao, Gabriel Martinelli, if he becomes available at Arsenal. But I don't see it happening. So I think Marcus Rashford is a safe signing for them in terms of the fact that you know what you're going to get with him if he's able to perform. I realized Marcus Rashford, when I look at his stats for Manchester United, when Man United are playing well, he plays well. When Man United suck, he sucks. So if he goes to a team that don't rely on him heavily to be the man, I think he could be a good player. And I actually think his loan spell at Villa was not that bad. I think the revisionism on his loan spell would have played out completely differently had Unai Emery not taken him off against PSG, because he was cooking PSG and he was their biggest threat. And again, it's always just one decision that can kind of change everything. But I feel like people hate Rashford so much and they have a dislike for him so much. And rightfully so. I understand why people dislike him as a player, but I think sometimes we're not being honest with ourselves about the kind of player he is. Big up to Aminor says, Mina, how would you react if the Mbumo deal collapsed? A part of me thinks it will. I'm trying to not be negative, but a part of me thinks that the Bryan Mbumo deal might collapse. And like I said earlier in the stream, I just think about the domino effect of Gibbs White joining Spurs. So if that happens to go through and Nottingham Forest are unsuccessful with their legal action, I'm worried that Forest will go after Wissa and they'll do it quick, because one thing about Forest with their owner, I don't think they mess about in the transfer window. They tested the waters with a 25 million bid and that got shut down straight away. And I think they'll move quick. And also the manager of Brentford did an interview recently, and he was saying, I think it was in a press conference actually, and he was saying there's no obligation or compulsory necessity for them to actually sell Bryan Mbumo. And the way that I see it is they've lost Norgard. If they lose Wissa, they're not trying to lose everyone and have a new manager in, a new coaching staff, because that would just, I think, be an unfair building block to start from for the manager. So they might turn around and think, you know what, we sold Wissa, we sold Norgard, we've got a new manager in, we don't want to be too risky. Let's not sell him and let's just trigger his 1 year and revisit the options next year. And I don't know if you lot remember, but they were hardballing with Ivan Toney, and in the end accepted like a 40 million bid from Saudi because people walked away. Ivan Toney wasn't in hot demand. I think Bryan Mbumo is. And the second that Wissa gets a bit of attention and a club snatches him up, I think that could change Man United's transfer window and not for a good necessity. Because even with saying that, guys, outside of Brian and Mbeumo, who the hell are United going to sign? Like, they would have to go, in my opinion, if Man United do not sign Brian and Mbeumo, they'd have to go all out and sign a striker and sign a right wing back. Because in that way, you can play Ahmad in the 10 or Bruno Fernandes in the 10. But if you've got a quality striker and a quality right wing back, that can kind of cover up whatever's happened with losing out on Brian and Mbeumo. So that's just my opinion. And big up to Aminor, been a member for 19 months, saying it worries me we're not linked to other targets. It's not even just that. For me, it's also the fact that other people are, like Kudus is going, Eze not going to be a target for us. Like all the other, not Premier League equivalents of Brian and Mbeumo, but people that can play in that role that I actually rate in the Premier League, there's not really many that's going to be available. Rodrigo ain't never signing. He ain't never joining Manchester United, man. And I hate doing business with Real Madrid, man. They give us their leftovers every single time. When they're done with a player, they just say, all right, off you pop. Florentino Perez calls Manchester United and says, I got to play for you guys. I know a lot of people are kind of suggesting this idea as Rashford as a second striker. And I'm not going to lie, I've kind of entertained it behind closed doors as well. When I speak to my friends and we talk about United, we talk about the idea of Rashford staying and, how he would do in a front line with the likes of Cunha, and if Joshua Zirkzee's in the false nine or even up front and, playing as a second striker to that. But I also look at it, guys, like from a rational perspective. And I think, you know what? This has played on for too long. This situation with Manchester United and Marcus Rashford has played on for too long. I don't agree with it because, and you know what? I don't know if am I applying favoritism to Marcus Rashford, guys? Let me know in the chat. Because sometimes I look at it and I think, what did he do to piss Amorim off that much that Amorim can't even look you in the guy don't even want to see you? It's the same as the whole Sancho and Ten Hag thing. Eric Ten Hag couldn't bear the sight of Jadon Sancho. What has happened between Amorim and Rashford to a point where Amorim they can't enter through the same door at Carrington? One has to enter from behind, one has to enter from the front. I don't know if that's 100% legit, but that's what's being reported by journalists. They might be just propping it up a little bit. But I just don't get what has happened to this extent that the relationship has become unsalvageable in the space of the manager being there for a month. Like, I don't think you lot are deep in it. Ruben Amorim was at Manchester United for a month before he started making these, what's it called? Indirect comments in press conferences and talking about how I'd pay a 65-year-old goalkeeper coach before I play someone who puts in no effort. It can't just be he doesn't try in training. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm trying to I'm trying to stir the pot a little bit, and I'm trying to be devil's advocate and see things from different angles. But I'm trying to think, like, as a player, you turn up to a couple of sessions and you're not putting in 100%, and then you get benched for multiple games in a row, and then and by the way, this thing about Rashford doing an interview about wanting to leave, I don't agree with it. But I think a lot of people look away from the fact that before he even did that interview, Man United were briefing to the media. Yeah, this guy's got to go. We're going to sell him. Like, Man United were already briefing to their close confidants in journalism that they were looking to sell him in January. And they were open to any bid for him. I don't necessarily agree with his interview, by the way. I don't agree with it. Rashford to Amorim is like Aubameyang to Arteta. Valid point, because we never really knew what happened with Arteta and Aubameyang up until that show came out, the All or Nothing. We didn't really know the ins and outs. But the way that, for me, at the time, I think it's also kind of different as well, because Amorim has come in as Ineos are still relatively new at Manchester United. So they're still trying to put their stamp of authority on the team. Arteta and the Cronkies and I think that was a different situation because they sought Arteta out. They sought Arteta out and wanted him. Whereas I think it's not directly comparable, but I get what you're trying to say. I also think that if a manager is coming into a toxic. By the way, Arteta did this with a lot of people at Arsenal. Not to the extent of Aubameyang, but he did it to Ozil, and I don't even agree with the way things panned out with Ozil, because that wasn't even a culture thing. It wasn't even something to do with a change of environment. It wasn't any of that. It was that for me with Ozil was disgusting. That was disgusting. I'm not gonna lie. Just because he's speaking up for he's speaking up against injustices that Arsenal politically might not align themselves with. But he did it to Elneny. Someone just mentioned that. He did it to Lacazette, I think it was as well. Pepe, if we could say that. I guess so, yeah. Pepe to an extent. Whose situation is bad, Garnacho or Rashford? This is the thing with Man United, yeah. As fans, guys, I feel like we just always want to, like, everyone likes one player over another, right? Let's be honest. Everyone always prefers one player over another. And we always want to be like, oh, but that player did something much worse. I think Rashford is worse in the fact that he's been here for longer. You'd expect more from a player like him. I personally would expect more from a player like Rashford because he's been here for longer. He's Man United through and through. That's what we're always told in his interviews. He talks about how he bleeds Manchester United. So you'd expect him to have more accountability on his side. I think Garnacho is just purely childish. That's it. I think, look at Rashford, for example, or even Martial, when they were Garnacho's age, I don't think they had that much gas or hype about them. Like, I don't think so. And I just think it got to Garnacho's head and he thought he was bigger than what he actually is. That's it. I think they're both equally bad. I think they're both equally wrong for what for the way things have panned out. But the thing is that Rashford, if Rashford never ever, if that news about him going Belfast was never made public by, who is it, the Daily Mail or someone, I don't think people would care about this Rashford situation. But it's just the fact that United were doing bad and he wasn't doing well on the pitch, and then that's coming out. I don't think people would have cared. That's the thing with Rashford, is he's not like Garnacho. I think Rashford needs to remember this as well. And Jadon Sancho needs to remember this as well. They are not like Garnacho. The media don't have it out for them. Garnacho, the fans have it out for him. Like, the fans are adamant that they want to humble him. So whatever opportunity they get, they will do that. With Rashford and Sancho, the media have it out for them. So the media will purposely, in my opinion, go out to find stuff to make him look horrible in the eyes of the public. Garnacho is doing it by himself. Garnacho is the one that's coming out and, saying stuff after a game and doing things on social media. I think had Rashford done what Garnacho did, like if the roles were reversed, I think people would have been more mad at Rashford for saying things about Amorim after the Europa League final than, on the flip side of, Garnacho going clubbing in Belfast, etc., etc. I think, because if you even compare the two players, when United lost the last Europa League final and when they lost this one, compare the two comments from the two players. Completely different. Completely different. When we lost under Oli, Rashford gave a roaring cry, I think, to fans, saying, get behind us, basically. This is, we're building something, and it was very like, you know what? Yes, next season, we'll be back. Garnacho on the flip side is calling out the manager. I don't get why people group Sancho with Rashford. Sancho has done nothing for us. I agree, actually. I think it's actually quite harsh to put Sancho and Rashford in the same category. Minute, is the new show coming out going to be a live show? Some will be pre-records, some will be live shows, but I think we're going to start with pre-records at the moment just because it's easier due to schedules. But we've got to keep an eye on this Rashford thing, because for me, it has to be something. It has to be something. Some news on Garnacho as well, whilst we're on the topic of training. Manchester United have not permitted Garnacho to rejoin Manchester United teammates for pre-season training. Reports claim Garnacho had been permitted to return to the team training, but United sources confirm this is not the case and his situation remains unchanged. United's medical and rehab teams and facilities will remain available. The preference is for all parties to secure a permanent exit this summer. Now, guys, let's take it back to after the Europa League final, yeah? When Ruben Amorim reportedly said to Garnacho, you better pray another team come and buy you. Do you know how mental that comment will look at the end of the transfer window if Garnacho is still here. Do you know how that might be the wake up, in my opinion, that Garnacho needs to bring him down a little bit, to humble him a little bit. Garnacho will go Chelsea. Listen, if Chelsea buy Garnacho with the Madueke money, yeah, fair play, Chelsea. Fair play. I just feel like there's no way Chelsea look at, and as much as I want, because I have to look at it as two ways. I look at it as a United fan, and then I look at it as a football fan. As a United fan, I'm like, please, anyone take Garnacho. Pay 50, 60 million for him. But then as a football fan, I look at it and think Chelsea can't be dumb to look at Man United and think, you know what, I'll take Garnacho for 60 million when a couple 30 million extra might get you Rodrigo. And I know that the thing is, I think Garnacho ticks a lot of boxes for Chelsea. Because let's be honest, as much as I don't like Garnacho's ego and I don't like his personality, there's a player there. Like, we have to be honest with ourselves. There is a player inside Garnacho. It's just a matter of bringing him down to earth slightly. I don't want to say humbling him, but essentially reminding him that he's still got a long way to develop and a long way to go. But I think Garnacho ticks a lot of boxes for Chelsea. And I say this to my friends all the time who are Chelsea fans. He's young. Bam. That's already the main box, you know, because we know Chelsea like to buy between a certain age bracket. They've got the youngest age average at the Club World Cup. So we know they like to buy within a certain age range. That's the first point. The second point, he's good on the ball. He can get at a man. He can make runs in behind. He can score. He can create chances. He might be selfish. But I think that there is a player in there. However, the only thing I will say is that ego might be his downfall. Like, generally speaking, look at Alvaro Fernandez. I know it's not the same, but look at Alvaro Fernandez, for example. Him and Garnacho joined United at around the same time. Different age, but slightly, I think Alvaro is slightly older than him, but they were around this. They joined United at around the same time. Garnacho went through the academy in terms of the fact that he played a bit in the academy system before he came to the first team. Alvaro Fernandez never sniffed a minute at Manchester United. He wasn't the most flamboyant and he wasn't the most loud. He went on his loan spell, did well on his loan spell. For me, I always say this. His loan spell was the second best loan spell, and it was only overshadowed by the fact that Ahmad had a great season at Sunderland. But he went out on loan to develop. Garnacho got a pathway from the academy to the first team under Erik ten Hag. And let's be honest, Erik ten Hag, he done a lot of stuff at Manchester United, yeah? But not giving Alvaro Fernandez a chance for me when Man United were dying for a left back said it all. And I always thought that there was a good player in Alvaro Fernandez. United sold him for peanuts. And now he is becoming, in my opinion, what Garnacho thinks in his head. I'm not saying like for like in terms of ability. I'm talking about the fact that Garnacho believes he should be only at a top club, the likes of Real Madrid and Chelsea. He's looking at a team like Napoli and reportedly rejected them in January, despite the fact that they were ready to pay 40 million or 45 million for him at the time. Alvaro Fernandez did the flip opposite. He betted on himself, went to Benfica, had some good time, had a good couple of seasons there, and now he's got his moves to a big club, back home to where he started, Real Madrid. That's why I rate Alvaro Fernandez. Alvaro is good in attack, but terrible at defending. That's the thing, though. When you're a wing back, in my opinion, I think that they can cover for. If your centre backs can cover for you, it's fine. Look at Denzel Dumfries, Frimpong at Bayer Leverkusen. They weren't the greatest of defenders, but they had right-sided centre backs to cover for them defensively. So whenever they had to get back and defend, it was always going to be a 2v1 because they would have support from their centre back. Alvaro Fernandez, if Real Madrid upgrade on Rudiger, which goddamn they might have to, but if they have Dean Howson playing on the left side of a back three, I think they'll have Tchouaméni dropping into that central role. I think they'll have Konate if they get Konate. I think Alvaro Fernandez will do very well. Very, very well. And I'm so glad to see him going to Real Madrid. Like, it's crazy to think that I'm happy that a player that like was never at United never really got a chance at United, and I'm happy for him. But I'm so happy because I remember doing the loan view at United View and talking about Alvaro Fernandez, and people were saying to me, "Oh, I'm hyping up a kid that is clearly not good enough to play at United," and I was like, "This guy's better than Luke Shaw, bro. He's better than Luke Shaw." I was watching Johnny Evans, Lindelof, Sufyan Amrabat, Regulon, all these people playing ahead. Like, he didn't get one chance. You know, like Facundo Pellistri got a chance here and there before he got sold. The guy didn't get one chance under Eric Ten Hag. Eric Ten Hag has made 250 million signings this summer in terms of the fact of Alvaro Fernandez and Elanga, two players that he didn't rate at Man United. Elanga, I think he would never have become the player if he didn't leave United, in my opinion. I don't think United was the environment for him. And I'm glad Alvaro Fernandez betted on himself to just keep it moving. Big up to Chris with the super chat. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. Says, I'm a Barca fan. Marcus Rashford has to work hard because Flick is harder than Amorim in terms of hard work, and he has to press a lot. I actually think if Marcus Rashford was to join Barcelona, I don't think he's a starter, guys. I don't see him as a starter. And I actually think it's sad on Rafinha, the way that everyone's just ignoring what he's done in the last 12 months. And it's the shiny new toy syndrome. But I agree. I think if Rashford goes anywhere, he will have a lot to prove to people. But also, I think Barca will be a big jump up for him because the criticisms will be as heavy as life at Manchester United is for him. But I don't see him being a starter, in my opinion. Big up to Show says, fans will back Shaw despite him letting the club down for years, but will say Alvaro is crap, I'm not going to swear, without giving him a chance, this fan base. Ten Hag made his parent club, Ajax, richer. But listen, I don't want to get too much into Ten Hag, but I just want to prove a point of how being humble, like sometimes I think, people talk about humble being a gimmick and etc. But I genuinely think like some footballers are an example of that. Like, you don't have to be the flashiest and the cool. Like, was it Garnacho that turned up to a United game with the whole sunglasses thing that Lamine Yamal did the weekend before? Hold on. I don't know if no, he did it. He did do it. He did do it. I genuinely thought I was bugging in my head. This is the picture I'm referencing, guys. This is the picture I'm referencing. Lamine Yamal can flex all he wants. Because this was off the back of what? You see a medal around his neck. This was off the back of a medal-winning moment. Literally, that weekend, if I'm not wrong, Garnacho turned up to Old Trafford like this for a game. And I'm not singling him out. I hope you lot don't feel like I'm singling him out. But I just feel like we need to have an honest opinion of, I don't want to say humbling our players, but having players that are not, like, they don't think the world revolves around them, and without having much to prove for it. Because right now, I think United are at a dangerous crossroad in terms of a rebuild. And people always talk about, oh, Ragnick said United need a rebuild. Guys, please. We had open heart surgery. I say this all the time. I said it on UV. We had open heart surgery. We just had the wrong surgery. They took our heart out and they put a kidney in there. Like, this idea that United have not had an open heart surgery and, oh, we are still living off of the comments of Ralph Ragnick and we still haven't addressed it. We addressed it. We just addressed it very, very poorly. So now we have to address it again. And I would much rather have players like, in my opinion, Mazraoui and Alvaro Fernandez. And I don't want to pull out this humble gimmick too much, but players that are not too busy thinking about the spotlight. I don't know, man. I just feel like we shouldn't be having cocky players at Manchester United because there's nothing to be cocky about right now. We shouldn't have egotistical players because there's no reason for you to have an ego at Manchester United. We just finished 15th. There's a difference between, in my opinion, betting on yourself and believing in yourself and believing in your team and just being having a damn right ego that you shouldn't have. Like, again, I'm going to revisit this point, but it was reported that Manchester United were ready to accept a bid in January for Alejandro Garnacho from Napoli, but he said that he will not go there. You're going to go where I tell you to go, my boy. And that should apply to everyone. Jadon Sancho, Anthony, Marcus Rashford, Malacia. Again, I'm sorry, Malacia, for boxing you into the 5 musketeers, but you fall into that bracket. But even then, there isn't I get everyone's excited for United to return to pre-season, and there is a strong possibility we go back on a pre-season tour in a week's time with near enough the same players that helped us finish 15th. Like, I don't think people actually deep that sometimes. And I think the manager, Ruben Amorim, and just Manchester United maybe overall, they seem to have a lot more energy for the players that didn't have anything to do with Man United finishing 15th than they do for the players that did finish 15th, which is quite confusing to me sometimes. We can't even sell our so-called best player, Bruno. We're not a serious club. Let's talk about this. Because I obviously see a lot of people revisiting this a lot, right? And I'm glad that you brought this up, because I see a lot of people, like, this has been a topic of conversation now that we realize how poor Manchester United are, like financially poor. But we're poor on the pitch, but also financially poor. Man United clearly have a sentiment to Bruno Fernandes, right? They clearly have a sentimental attachment to him because he's probably the guy that's been there over the last 5 years, game in, game out. But with saying that, I do kind of feel like Man United effed up when Bruno publicly said Man United don't need the money. I don't think Bruno was ready to go to Saudi Arabia, if I'm being honest. I don't think he was ready to pack up and go to Portugal. I'm actually watching it came out ages ago. I don't know why I never watched it, but I'm watching a documentary on Netflix about the Saudi Pro League. I don't think he would have adapted to to Saudi the way that Cristiano Ronaldo quickly kind of adapted to it. I don't think he would have. I don't think he was also ready to leave behind football in Europe without achieving something of a certain ilk, right? Because history wouldn't have been kind to Bruno Fernandes, in my opinion, had he left and gone to Saudi, and maybe he never returned, maybe he did return, but he never ended up winning a Champions League or a league title or something like that in Europe. But I also think the fact that he publicly said, oh, Manchester United don't need the money. And he also said, if Manchester United tell me to leave, I will leave. And then on top of that, not just him, but then Ruben Amorim publicly saying in press conferences, saying, I want him to stay. I need him to stay. I think that never helped United. What's the name of the documentary? The documentary is called the Saudi Pro League or something like that. Something like that. If you go on sports documentaries, you will see it. But I think Man United effed up big time. Big time. With not selling Bruno. Now, the only way we will actually know, in my opinion, how bad Man United have messed up is once the window's over. Once the window's over, if we turn around and we say, you know what, United couldn't do what they needed to do because we're broke, I'm going to say they should have sold Bruno Fernandes. They should have sold Bruno Fernandes. You know why, guys? I'll compare it to, like, you know what they call the hood bankruptcy. Hood bankruptcy. If you guys have ever heard that, is when someone sells their PlayStation. When someone sells their PlayStation, you know that was their final resort because they needed money. Man United selling Bruno Fernandes would have been the equivalent of hood bankruptcy. It would have been for the greater good, but it would have been something very tough for Manchester United to do. But they would have probably had, like, they needed to do it because they needed the money. Now, I don't think money is what's holding up the Brian Mbeumo deal. I think that the more that Man United kind of drag out the Brian Mbeumo deal, I think the more difficult it will get financially, because we're just going to start seeing more and more players going for 50, 60 million. And they are going to keep demanding what they're demanding and more achievable add-ons, asking for more achievable add-ons and more money up front, because they're going to be looking at, Noni Madueke going for a 48 million base fee. Mohamed Kudus going for 55 million. They're going to think, ain't no way those guys are worth more than what we're demanding for Mbeumo. I never sold any of my PlayStations. Still have the PS1. To be honest, I've never sold my PlayStation. They've broken my PS1. To be honest, I had a PS1 years ago, and the thing is, up until PS3, so PS1 and PS2, I used to share that console with my siblings. It's only PS3 that I had my own console. PS4, I bought it for myself. PS5, I bought it for myself. So my PS4, I actually gave it to my brother-in-law. Shout out to my brother-in-law. I gave it to him during the pandemic, so that we could play Warzone together. My PS3 got the yellow light of death, so I never actually sold that. It just broke. But you don't know, hood bankruptcy is no joke. It's no joke. What does a successful window look like at this point? Cunha, Mbumo, striker, I don't know, Watkins. God forbid we get any of the strikers I heard people talking about this week. I don't know what, for me, a good window for United would have looked like being informative in your decision. And when I say that, I'm talking about the fact that, we lost the Europa League, finished 15th. Get Cunha done immediately. Get Mbumo done immediately. Basically, get all your targets and your starters. Because for me, United have to sign 5 starters. That for a 5-starter window would have been what I would say is a decent window for United. But then United then need depth. Eriksen left, Victor Lindelof left. Although we might not have thought that they were the most prolific players, that's fine. Sign backups that replace the squad numbers, right? But for me, that would be a successful window. Signing a quality striker that's given you 20 goals in the league. Signing Mbumo and Cunha. Signing, in my opinion, I think United need a centre-back. I actually think United need a centre-back. Yes, we have Aiden Heaven, we have Lenny Yoro, we have Harry Maguire, we got De Ligt, we got Leacher, but I don't believe that we should throw Aiden Heaven into the deep end immediately like that. Like, yes, he's had moments of time in the first team, but he's also had moments of being out injured. So I think United should have backup. I also think United need a right wing back. But everyone's glorifying, a young player like Diogo Leon, who's coming in with, the weight of the world on his shoulders. Like, people are expecting a lot from him. And I also think United need a goalkeeper. So it would have been nice had United moved quickly in the window. I saw this picture today. Hold on, let me find it quickly. Let me find this, because I was just laughing, bro. I was laughing when I saw this. Here you go. So this is how the top 6 look this window. Let's have a look at this, guys. This is based on rumors. It's based on rumors and actual signings, right? It's based on rumors and actual signings. Firstly, I don't even, bro, who are half those people Chelsea signed? What the hell? You look at Liverpool. They got Mamadashvili, they got Kirkes, they got Frimpong, they got Verts. These are basically people that are basically, almost signed. Players that are all almost signed. And then you've got Spurs here at the bottom. I don't know why people are including a manager in this. Why we got a manager in this? I guess Spurs had to pay for him, right? This is a bit premature. I can't lie. This one is question mark. But this is how it's looking. Let me zoom out fully so we can see the whole thing. There you go. This puts into context, guys, how United are doing this window. I think seeing it visually like this makes you realize, oh my God, are we really, really falling behind in this manner? Again, some people believe that we aren't. Some people believe that United are doing what's right with Bryan Mbumo in terms of the fact they're not being fleeced. I actually want to know from you guys, with Bryan Mbumo, if it's true that Brentford are holding out for 70 million package, but they want 65 million up front or 64 million up front, would you just pay it? Would you guys just be like, you know what, 70 million, yes, but we'll pay it in these terms over 3 years? Whatever it is that United are trying to agree. Because I think what United are trying to agree probably with all their transfers is just paying it over the course of a certain number of years. Because I'm thinking there's no way United are being this aggy about a couple of million. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know. I genuinely don't know what it is. I think if you want the player this much and you've waited 6 weeks, you can't just walk away. Like at this point, if United walk away, that's 6 weeks wasted. I said this the other day, and someone said it's not 6 weeks wasted. Oh, it was James. Shout out James from Marketeers. I said if United were to just walk away from the deal, it's 6 weeks wasted. I can't imagine seeing that in any other way. Because and the reason why I say it's six weeks wasted is the fact that all the other alternatives or potential alternatives, especially in the Premier League, they've moved on. Kudus gone to Spurs. Eze is on his way to Arsenal. There's not really many options for Manchester United. So now everybody will know that you are a penny pincher and you're clutching at your wallet. It's going to be even probably harder for you to negotiate. We ain't walking away. I'm hoping we're not going to. But I will be very annoyed, guys. I will be annoyed, I think, if Manchester United go on and pay what Brentford want in the way that Brentford want it. Because I'll just be like, why didn't you guys just do that in week 1? Like, that's the only way I can imagine it. Unless we're committing to Bruno in a 10, which it seems like we're not. I hear it. Mina, you're going to be in the US for the preseason tour. Nah, Fabio, I told you I ain't got a passport. I can't leave the country, guys. I ain't got a passport. So one day, if you lot see me starting to go, by the way, guys, I never realized getting a passport in the UK is expensive. Like, just to renew your passport when it's expired is like £170 or something like that. Then you have to get the pictures done. And I ain't got a passport, guys. So when I do travel, I'm not going to tell you how I travel, because you lot are going to report me. But I can't go to the US. Not yet, anyways. Not yet. I'd love to go on a preseason tour. Man United, men or women. Like, I think the men's one is obviously a bigger deal. But I think the women do have a preseason tour, but it's nowhere off the level of the men's team. Show, don't say that, man. They probably want free installments like Cunha. I don't think they want installments. Big O. I don't, for some reason, I don't think they want installments. I think they probably want a lot more upfront. Because in a way, I don't know if you guys know how cash works in football, but if they get installments, if they get free installments, yeah, what Brentford would have to do to spend that money that they haven't received yet is they'd have to get credit. They'd have to get a loan and basically put the cash that they're going to receive in the future up as collateral. That is normally for quick cash, short-term cash for a quick transfer. They probably don't want to do that because it comes with interest. That means the cash that they make, say they make 70 million from Brian Mbeumo and it's spread across 3 years. They can get that 70 million as credit from elsewhere, but they'll have to pay interest on that. So really, it's going to cost them more. So they probably want more upfront rather than having it across the course of installments, because they need to go and reinvest that. If they've lost Norgard and they've lost Mbeumo, they'll have to go out and support their manager, newly appointed manager, by the way, in replacing the players that he's lost before he's even had the opportunity of that. It's Ineos's fault. They should have wrapped this up. They should have wrapped this deal off weeks ago. The prices of Kudus, Madueke is going to make Brentford twice. If somebody has bad credit, not credible, more money needs to be put down. Exactly. But the thing is, I did a TikTok video about this, like a short 2-minute TikTok video. There's 2 sources of credit in football. There's revolving credit, and then there's, I think, cash credit, which one is you can put it up against future like revenue, future cash that you're going to get, which credit credit companies don't really like to do that because there's no guarantee on the source of the kind of revenue that you're putting up against. For example, when Barcelona were pulling all those levers a couple of years ago, they were putting up things like future TV revenue. There was no guarantee that they would make it, but they knew that they would get at least X amount from their TV broadcasting deals. So they were doing stuff like that. They were putting up, boxes, hospitality boxes in their stadium, etc. Then there's the other side, which is when credit companies prefer things like collateral being put up, like training facilities, like stadiums. So they could literally take your stadium away from you if you don't pay up. And they tend to prefer that. It makes sense because that's something tangible. That's something that's there right now. is something that they can see and they can come and take it if you don't pay up. Clubs don't really like to do that. So what they prefer to do is put it up against, you know, future brand sponsorship revenue or future, like I said, TV broadcasting or future transfers that they're going to receive for certain players. There's never a guarantee that they're going to receive exactly that amount of money. And that is a bigger risk for credit companies. So in the instance of Brentford, it makes their life slightly more easier if they were able to go out and get immediately, you know, however much money they've demanded for him. Do I think Man United are going to walk away? No, but I just feel like you never know. Like right now with Manchester United, I really feel like we are at a time and place where you just don't know what's going to happen with Manchester United. And I'm trying to be as optimistic as possible. So I'm going to ask you lot this question. Do you think we will get, here we go for Brian and Boomer this weekend? This weekend is long and there's so much happening. You know, we got the England women are playing on Sunday, against Wales. PSG versus Chelsea. Damn, somebody just buzzed my flat. People knock my flat, guys, like they are feds. Every single time they knock it like they're a fed. But and you know what? I don't even think someone's knocking. I think it's the kids playing in the garden that are knocking my flat. But anyways, so much is happening in the world of football. I don't know if United are going to get a here we go this weekend. I don't know if they're going to get it next weekend. And the week after that, can I say, Man United depart for their pre-season tour. Pre-season tour kicks off for Manchester United. And it's been reported by so many journalists, Manchester United are optimistic that Brian and Boomer will join by the time they start their pre-season tour. We're not that far away. We're not that far away. We are not that far away. Minna, you got youths? No, I don't, but they live in my block. And they just sometimes, they like to do knockdown ginger. To be honest, they ain't done it on my house in a while because the last time they did it, I went outside to them. Young kids. What's the word? A group of girls, actually. It wasn't even boys knocking my door. It was a group of young girls that live in my block. And I told them, did you just knock my flat? Yeah. I said, which one of you was it? They're all pointing at each other. It was me. It was this one. It was this one. It was this one. I said, do you want me to go downstairs and tell your parents right now that you're knocking on my flat while I'm working? Oh, no, please don't. I said, I will tell your parents. I will go downstairs now and knock on your door and tell your mum and dad exactly what you did. We're so sorry, auntie. They call me auntie all the time when they see me in the block. We're so sorry, auntie. Please don't tell my mum and dad, please. I said, I will tell your parents if you ever do that again. And you know what's so funny? They did it to my neighbor in front of, like, the flat in front of me. My neighbor didn't want to tell them off. I said, no problem, I'll tell them off. Because it's disruptive to your day. Imagine 3 times in the space of 5 minutes. Doof, 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 doof. I'm opening the door. No one's there. After the first time, I knew they were playing knockdown ginger. I saw the one where it happened to Saeed, but he put on a ballet. I wouldn't put on a balaclava to scare them. Me, I'm gonna say straight up, like, I know your parents. I got a good relationship with most of and pretty much everyone that lives in my block. So I would just go and be a snitch. I'll tell your parents. And then your parents are going to tell you off and you're not allowed to play out anymore. That ain't no problem. Growing up, though, knockdown, I call it knockdown ginger. I think people call it other stuff. But that was a big part of childhood. Why not have a door camera? Because I don't think there's a need for me to have a door camera. I don't think there's a necessity for me to have a door camera. If I lived in a house, like a semi-detached house or something like that, I would have a Ring doorbell camera for sure. But to be honest, this Ring doorbell thing has become a phenomenon over the last couple of years. I remember when I first seen this Ring doorbell thing, I saw it 8-9 years ago, and my auntie had it. Not only that, my auntie had cameras inside her house, and I used to think, yo, you are militant. I would not want you to be my parent. I'm already scared of you as my auntie, but you got a cam. I could never sneak out if that was my house. I could never sneak out as a teenager. I couldn't do that stuff because you're telling me you got a Ring doorbell and you got cameras in your house. I'm sitting in your living room and there's just a camera looking at me from there, and there's a camera looking at me from there, and you're watching it on your phone. Oh, my auntie's calling me saying, yeah, I can see you in my house right now. Flipping hell, that's spooky. A ding dong ditch. I've never heard that. To me, it's always been knockdown ginger. I don't know, and I really don't know why it's called that. Oh, but guys, you know what? Fabio, you asked me already, but I'm gonna run it back right now for the people that don't know. There's a new show dropping on the channel in about 10 days' time. It will be a weekly show. Some of it will be pre-records, some of it will be live. So it will be a mix and match. Every week it will differ. It just depends on schedule. Shout out to Alice because it will be with Alice. We've got a new name for the show and everything. So I'm trying to switch up the content. I'm not trying to do too many live streams. Trying to do as well some non-Man United content. So that is a specific show aimed at Manchester United, but I'm trying to do, across Europe. And maybe don't be surprised next season if you lot see me doing little clips on like the Saudi Pro Leagues. I'm not saying I'm being paid to do it, but don't be surprised. We need a FIFA stream, Minna. FIFA's firstly it's called FC, but FC is coming to an end right now. Let me actually switch up the thing. FC 25 is coming to an end right now. I think if you lot know, like I play Ultimate Team, it's the end. It's footies. By the time footies comes, it's the end. However, I promise you guys, the next FIFA cycle, the next FC cycle, FC 26, I will do consistent content, but it won't be on the channel here. It will be on Twitch, and then I will post the clips to my new channel. So if you lot don't know, in the bio of this video, my second channel is there. I won't be focusing heavily on it, but I'll be doing content there, and that is specifically aimed at, basically it's going to be gaming, predominantly gaming stuff, all types of games. I'm starting my Assassin's Creed Shadows story mode this weekend. FC 26 when that drops, 2K 26 when that drops, Madden drops next month, college football just dropped this week. So I'm going to be doing some content on that. Basically, so much different type of games that I play that I realize I can just post content on it. And then we're going to have vlog type of stuff. So when I go to football games and when I get to do like a lot of behind the scenes stuff of what I do, I'll be posting there, but it'll be predominantly gaming related. So if I go to, for example, the FC 26 launch, I will post a vlog there, all of that stuff. And Make United Great Again, which is the series that I started here on FC 24, it's going to start there for FC 26. And you lot know that if you ever see anyone doing a stream name called Make United Great Again with a gaming content, you know that originally came from me. I think I started it with FIFA 23. You play 2K or now? 100%. I played 2K. If you don't play 2K, let me know, because I'm always looking to find people to play Rec and Park with. I play a lot of My Player mode, career mode, but also I can't play with my friends because they just argue non-stop. Guys, I can't play pro clubs with them, and I can't play Rec or Park with them because they just argue non-stop about passing each other the ball. But on the topic of pro clubs, we actually have something sick coming on Twitch, and it's going to be an all-girls pro club team where I'm going to stream regularly on Twitch. So make sure you lot follow me on there as well. And I'll try to post, like I said, everything to more Minna. Fabio, big up to your friend Mark. Happy birthday to your friend. Big up to Mark. I hope Mark has a great birthday. But yeah, guys, make sure you lot hit the like button. Let's see where we are at. We've got content coming throughout the weekend. We've got a double watch along on Sunday. Double watch along, not one, not two. We've got two back to back at the same time, simultaneously, for the Club World Cup, and also for match day 3 for the England Lionesses team, because I wasn't able to do a watch along for the last 2 of those games. So it's a big game for England. So I've got to watch along for that. Tomorrow morning, if there's any news, I will be live at 9:30 a.m. UK time. 9:30 a.m. UK time. I will be live in the morning tomorrow if there's anything. If not, I'll be live later in the evening with any news. And then we've got a lot of content coming throughout the week. So make sure you lot hit the like button. Big up to everyone. Follow me on socials, guys. Follow me on Instagram. Right here, you lot see Minna Football on Instagram, because I'm dropping a couple of stuff over the next couple of days on there. Tomorrow I'm dropping something. I'm trying to be a bit more consistent on there. So make sure you lot follow me on there and on all platforms, to be honest, because I'm pretty active across all the different platforms. Let me see if anybody is live right now that I can redirect to. Nope, it seems like 7 45 is not a popular time for anybody to be live, I guess. Yeah. You know what? There's someone that just popped up on my stream. Let me see. Yeah, I'm gonna redirect to this guy. I don't even know him. Someone just popped up on my YouTube recommended called Chosen Wisdom, and I can see he's live right now. So let me just actually redirect to him because he's a United fan and he's talking about Manchester United stuff. So you guys should go and watch. And for some reason he's what the hell? What the hell? It's not coming up for me for some reason. But don't go anywhere, guys. Go and show this guy some love because I can see that he's live. He's talking about the Rashford situation and Barcelona and Marcus Rashford and Sancho. And let me see if I can. Let me see if I can paste in the URL. Oh, he doesn't have redirect privileges on. I can't redirect to him. What a shame. What a shame. Okay, I guess I won't redirect. Big up to everyone. You lot, I hope you have a wonderful Friday evening. I'm out. If we get Here We Go, you lot know I'll be live, man. You lot know I'll be live. Hit the like button on your way out, guys. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Peace.